In Phryne's day, around 400 BC, 300,000 people lived in Athens. It was the city's golden age. A slow decline followed until by the 15th century, Athens had shrunk to a village. But in 1834, it became the capital of a newly independent Greece. Today, its population exceeds 4 million, and its recovery continues. Dawn has barely broken as architect Nikos Toganides awaits a special delivery. This marble block, weighing over a ton, is destined for one of history's most exciting restoration projects. Now, it must be hauled 150 meters straight up the steep slopes of the Acropolis, the ancient citadel and impregnable heart of ancient Athens. The Acropolis is crowned by the city's most famous building, the Parthenon, commissioned in 447 BC by Pericles, champion of Athenian democracy. Today, it's being taken apart and rebuilt to correct mistakes made during an earlier, inferior restoration. And what increasingly emerges is the quality of its ancient design and construction. A gallery of columns, 2 stories high, supported the cantilevered roof of this temple, dedicated to the city's patron goddess, Athene Parthenos, whose statue once commanded the huge entrance hall, standing 12 meters high, embellished with ivory and gold. Today's workshops occupy exactly the same place the workers' huts did over 2,000 years ago. Even after restoration, the Parthenon will retain its familiar ruined appearance. Parts that are damaged will be repaired, or the damage controlled. Only when necessary will new parts be sculpted from marble. Piece by piece, the Parthenon comes apart. Only in this way can the sins of previous restorations be corrected. The goal of today's architects is to stick as closely as possible to historical accuracy. As they do so, their respect for the technical and logistical accomplishments of the original builders increases.
Knowing all these facilities that we have in our hands, papers, computers, whatever, how difficult it is to organize and to control all these things. I cannot imagine that period without paper, imagine where they were drawing, how they can communicate and to do this fine work. It's incredible.
Construction on the Parthenon began in 447 BC and lasted 15 years. Around the same time, Greek scholars were laying the foundations of modern science. Pythagoras was working out the basic principles of mathematics, and Democritus declared the atom to be the origin of all things. To this day, the Parthenon remains proof written in stone of the genius of its builders. If these pillars were extended upward, they would meet several kilometers above at a precise calculable point. None of them is absolutely straight, yet they are all carved to the exact millimeter. These perfect proportions were achieved using only geometrical calculations. Compass, ruler, and plumb line were the builders' only tools. While on the Acropolis, democracy was celebrated with magnificent monuments, at the foot of the steep hill, it was lived here on the Agora. The Agora was the marketplace of ancient Athens. For the past 70 years, archaeologists from the American School of Classical Studies have been working in the center of the city. At the edge of the Agora, they've unearthed a densely built-up residential area. Professor John Camp leads the excavations.
The purpose of the excavations is to uncover the center of ancient Athens. That is where the public life took place. And around the big square, which was the Agora proper, there were all the public buildings you needed to run the city. The Senate building, the Archive building, the magistrates' offices, the law courts, the mint. Pretty much everything you needed in an administrative way was somewhere near the square. And our purpose is to expose the historic center of Athens.
The Agora was the social and political meeting place of the Athenians. People came here to see and be seen. And Phryne was one of them. Phryne's beauty and intelligence have brought her wealth and social standing. But they've also aroused envy and prompted dangerous rumors to circulate. She's grown used to inquisitive eyes, but she's no inkling of the scandal about to break over her. She will be accused of a capital offense, blasphemy. Rumor has it that Phryne has commissioned the great Praxiteles to sculpt a statue of the goddess Aphrodite in Phryne's image. Athenians of old saw nothing shocking in the portrayal of nude bodies or erotic scenes, but that a courtesan should presume to be portrayed as the goddess of beauty could be seen as inviting the wrath of the gods to fall upon the whole city. Even in Phryne's day, the Agora's wide square was well shaded by trees and surrounded by spacious arcades. A restored version of one such arcade, the two-story Stoa of Attalos, now houses the American School of Classical Studies. Here, shaded from the sun, Athenian merchants once tended their stalls while citizens gathered to shop, exchange information, and gossip. Today, finds from the Agora excavations are examined and archived here.
The square itself was used for a variety of functions. One day they might set up booths and have a market. On another day they might be using it for an election. Another time it could be for athletic contests, for military drill, for festivals, for spectacles of all sorts. So it would be used for a variety of purposes every single day, but not always the same purpose.
Athens was a big city, but the Agora functioned like a village square, encouraging open communication between ordinary people, which helped lay the foundations of democracy. At the edge of the Agora, archaeologists have found a deep well. It was dug around the same time the Parthenon was built. For 3 years now, Professor Camp's team has been examining the well, slowly arriving at an understanding of what this area may once have looked like. Behind the administrative buildings surrounding the agora, narrow streets led into a cramped, densely built-up residential area. Ordinary citizens lived here, close by the place so crucial to democracy's development.
While there were certainly very rich houses and elegant villas, most of the houses we have near the agora are very poor and not very comfortable. They have clay floors. Their rooms are centered around a courtyard, which would have provided some light and air, but they would have been very dark from our point of view, very badly furnished, probably not too many windows because no way of closing them off and still letting the light in. So I think that's one of the reasons it's such an outdoor public life, is being home wasn't all that much fun.
All finds are analyzed and classified in the Institute's laboratory. Sometimes, small objects reveal a great deal about larger connections. For a while, the purpose of these bowls was a mystery. They were found near the fireplaces of ordinary Athenians, along with the charred bones of small animals. They may have been sacrificial bowls, part of a daily dialogue with the gods, conducted in the privacy of the home, prayers for success in business, for health and happiness. The gods played a vital role in the everyday life of Athenians. The Parthenon, presiding over the city, symbolized the importance of their relationship, illustrated here in a glorious frieze which once crowned the temple. The vibrant colors faded long ago, but the frieze still catches the magnificence of the annual procession to the Acropolis, made by the people to honor their patron goddess, Athena. Called the Panathenaea, the procession was a colorful sight as it wound its way up the hill. Drivers showed off their skill in maneuvering their chariots. Dignified elders added prestige to the occasion. Young men carried heavy amphoras filled with water. The Panathenaea was a big celebration for everyone. As was the custom, animal sacrifices were made in honor of the gods. But there were no priests in democratic Athens. Athenians communicated with their gods in their own self-confident, informal way. They believed the gods often left their home on Mount Olympus to assume human form and take their pleasure among mortals. But from those mortals, the gods demanded humility and respect.
This program is brought to you by Scotia McLeod. To Unrolled.
By now, most Athenians are aware that Praxiteles is working on a statue of Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty. And the whispered rumors now seem to be confirmed. Phryne is indeed the model on whom Praxiteles has based his image of the goddess. That the gods assumed human form was seen as an expression of their divine power. But that a mortal woman should be portrayed as a goddess is not only scandalous, but also sacrilegious. Such presumption puts Phryne at great risk. Commissioning a work of art may cost her dearly. It may even cost her her life. Wealthy Athenians were the primary patrons of artists such as Praxiteles. Supporting the arts was seen as a noble and prestigious activity, and Greek culture flourished as a result. Today, the art of ancient Athens continues to provide people with a decent livelihood. Reproductions of antique art objects find buyers around the world. In this Athenian foundry, the art of casting in bronze is still preserved. One of the earliest techniques developed by humans, it's been practiced for over 4,000 years.
It's a difficult process, from beginning to end. You never know if the casting will be successful. Maybe the earth was too wet, maybe there was too much pressure, maybe some details weren't precise enough. You can never be quite certain.
Opening it up breaks the earthen mold. The moment of truth has arrived. Piece by piece, the foundry workers lift the separate parts from the steaming molds. There's still a great deal of delicate work to be done before the tripodon is finished. Tripodons played a special role in ancient times. Patrons of successful plays were given them as prizes. Phryne, who financed a theater group, was once awarded one. Tripodons were placed in public view on tall stone pedestals, which lined the path to the theater. Today, this street is still called Tripodon Street. Most ancient bronze art has long since disappeared, melted down by later generations. Many marble statues, too, were burned to make lime. But the shining stone, as the Greeks called marble, still contributes to the city's beauty. Here in the Athens market, today's inhabitants of the old city center shop for fresh fruit, vegetables, meat, and fish. Athenians of old had a more modest diet. Few could afford meat. The very poor got to taste it only when an animal was sacrificed for some great festivity. Small animals were kept inside the house to supply eggs and milk. As Athens was close to the sea, there was always plenty of fish. This, along with bread and lentil soup, formed the staple diet of the people. Farmers sold fruit and vegetables, but the size and range of goods on sale were very different then. Melons were tiny, apples rare, potatoes and tomatoes as yet unknown. Along with figs and olives, Athenians snacked on grasshoppers and cicadas, described by Aristotle as great delicacies.
It's fairly clear that Athenian trading connections were very extensive. A lot of their grain, maybe most of their grain, came from the Ukraine, from the north side of the Black Sea. They were importing wine from Asia Minor and the island of Rhodes. Athenian coins have been found in Egypt. They've been found practically as far away as Afghanistan and far to the west as well. The coins obviously can pass from hand to hand, but it's clear that goods came in from all over the world.
Many of them came in amphoras, the universal container for transporting goods. Hundreds of these have been excavated from the agora alone. Each one bears a seal stating its date and place of origin, stamped into the soft clay before it was fired.
You are watching Ancient History Tuesdays on History. We now return to Ancient History Tuesdays on History Television.
The marble quarries of the ancient metropolis stood outside the city gates. Here, under a scorching sun, thousands of slaves struggled to cut the pale stone for city buildings. It's estimated there were 3 slaves for every free citizen, a figure which casts a shadow on history's first democracy. Today, the marble needed to restore the Parthenon is quarried by a handful of workers using heavy equipment and cutting-edge techniques. But ancient techniques haven't been forgotten either. Here, the stone is still split in the same way it was 2,000 years ago, with heavy hammers, iron chisels, and an intimate knowledge of the structure of marble. The huge blocks had then to be carried many kilometers to the Acropolis. Carts, pulled by teams of oxen, hauled the tremendous loads. In the city, splendid monuments were being built, glorifying democracy. While here, the poorest of the poor slaved in the quarries under intolerable conditions.
Slavery was certainly a fact of daily life, and it's, I think, more a question of manpower than anything. But when we look at the records for the buildings on the Acropolis, we find that free Athenians, Greeks from other city-states, and slaves all worked on the building together, all doing exactly the same jobs, and all being paid a daily wage. And the lot of a slave varied tremendously. At the bottom end of the scale, they worked in the silver mines, and their lives must have been very hard and very short. There were slaves who were public servants, like accountants, whose lives were not too bad. And some slaves even ran some of the major banks in Athens.
Slavery seems to have been taken for granted even in the enlightened democracy of Athens. While citizens devoted themselves primarily to politics, slaves guaranteed the city's commercial success. Many slaves were well-trained artisans, and today their work serves as a model for the stonemasons on the Acropolis. Exactly to the millimeter, new pieces for the Parthenon are chiseled from the marble. When chisels lose their edge, the blacksmith provides sharp new tools. Like Hephaestus, god of fire and forges, he's mastered the interplay of flame and water to create hard steel. The finest tools for the best stonemasons in Greece. In the residential area near the Agora, buildings were constructed with far less care. Their inhabitants were not among the ranks of rich Athenians. Yet even here, archaeologists discover in the debris shards of elaborately painted bowls and vessels. Once reassembled, they yield a fascinating impression of daily life in Greece.
The art mostly reflects the aristocratic style of living, and there were plenty of aristocrats and rich people even in democratic Athens. There are some pots that show sort of normal activities in shops and fishmongers cutting up fish and butchers and people working in workshops. But generally the art is sponsored by the aristocracy, and they're going to be interested in feasting and hunting and partying and the things that aristocrats like to do.
Athenian democracy deprived the aristocracy of power. Every citizen had the same rights. But not all citizens were the same. Many noble families came from a long tradition of privilege. They still retained considerable wealth and influence. They were the ones most able to afford these costly amphoras. The best vase painters were known throughout Greece, and their works fetched high prices. Dimitris Stathopoulos continues the work of these ancient masters with passionate devotion.
It was only very slowly that I mastered the whole process. But that's why I've formed such a close connection with this technique. A veritable love relationship, almost erotic. And when the ceramics realized that I truly loved them, they revealed themselves and their soul to me.
The secret lies in the color. Liquid clay is used to paint the still unfired vase. Only after they've been fired in the kiln do they take on their characteristic color. But artistic or even technical questions are not the only ones preoccupying the artist as he works.
This is a drinking bowl. But why is it so large? When you drink from a glass, only half the mouth's nerve endings are in contact with the liquid. However, if, as here, the liquid touches all of the lips and mouth, it's a completely different sensual experience.
The symposia of Athenian high society were famous. In those days, the word symposium meant nothing more than a drinking party. To music and dance, rich Athenians celebrated with extravagant dinners. Symposia hosted by Phryne were the stuff of legend. Philosophers, politicians, and artists frequented them. This evening, Praxiteles holds center stage. He's just announced the forthcoming unveiling of his statue of Aphrodite. Guests cultivate the art of storytelling, recounting tales rich in anecdote. Drinking games and puzzles entertain many of the men and their courtesans. In the course of the evening, the drinking bowls offer up their secret.
With the movement of the wine in the bowl, the images, such as gods, erotic or athletic scenes, etc., came to life. A kind of inner connection grew between the drinker and the picture. A god, for example, or whatever was painted there. Furthermore, these bowls were practical for drinking while lying down. That was important because they usually celebrated lying down. So, while the wine server poured, you lay there and drank.
But this evening, Phryne's symposium is disrupted. Normally, Praxiteles' slave would never dare intrude here. But the news he has rushed through the dark streets to bring his master cannot wait.
Despota, dagan pragmas empepeken, kaiotis paragnestai.
The sculptor's fear spreads to Phryne.
are watching Ancient History Tuesdays on History Television. To prove their royalty, Egyptian pharaohs displayed a crook and a flail, but to keep it, they used a dagger. A month of passion, ambition, and murder that ruled one of the world's great civilizations. Egypt Month begins Tuesday, April 6th on History Television.
You may not always like Canada's weather, but you have to drive through it. That's why we designed the Canadian-built Ford Freestar with the Canadian driving package. You get advanced track for stability control, all-speed traction control for better grip, a reverse sensing system, and brake assist. Whatever the weather, bring it on. The all-new Ford Freestar with the exclusive Canadian driving package and the hide-and-go seat.
Built for life in Canada.
Gentlemen, how can I help you?
Yeah, well, tell me about this teen burger.
Oh, the teen. It's my personal favorite.
Now, here's what I'm thinking. If we both got one, could you do us a deal?
How does 2 for $5 sound?
Sounds like a deal.
You still got it, Dad.
Pay the man, sonny.
Right now, get 2 teen burgers for only $5 at A&W.
There's never been an easy way to get rid of those tough marks around your home. Until now. With the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, you just add water, and it removes those marks and scuffs so easily, you'll be surprised. So surprised, you'll look for reasons to use it. Use the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser again and again. It even removes crayon. Try it risk-free. If you're not completely satisfied, call for your money back.
Clean your tough dirt with Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. Mr. Clean.
These people aren't just sleeping, they're whitening their teeth a better way. With Crest Night Effects. Crest Night Effects forms a liquid strip coating that stays on teeth all night, while most of that other brush-on whitener washes off. It's clinically proven to give you twice the whitening. Why waste the night just sleeping? Spend it creating a whiter smile. Crest Night Effects. Sleep your way to a whiter smile.
What are you doing?
Just having some of your oatmeal crisp. It's good.
No. You shouldn't be eating that.
Why?
Because they did a study.
Who did?
The fruit scientists. The strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries, commingled with the oatmeal. Lethal. Let me take care of that.
New oatmeal crisp triple berry cereal. Crispy oatmeal flakes with lots of fruit, but you won't like it.
Is it cereal or is it fruit salad? Make up your mind.
We now return to Ancient History Tuesdays on History Television.
In the dark of the studio, their worst fears are confirmed. Strangers have broken in, destroyed Praxiteles' work, and exposed Phryne's secret. By now, the whole city must know that Phryne dared to have the image of a goddess created in her own likeness. It's as if she's thrown down the gauntlet to the gods. What will happen to her fellow mortals now if she's upset the delicate balance between them and their heavenly rulers? And what will happen to her? Their desire to keep the gods happy and benevolent prompted Athenians to erect holy places in their honor throughout the realm. The temple at Cape Sunion was dedicated to Poseidon, god of the sea. For Poseidon protected shipping lanes and commerce with the colonies. At its height, Athenian power stretched from Sicily to the Black Sea. Even in Egypt, there were Greek settlements. But the gods were known to be capricious. It was safer not to place one's faith in them exclusively. To preserve their power and repel enemy attacks, Athenians maintained an impressive naval fleet. Its showpieces were the triremes, warships with 3 banks of oars designed to protect heavily loaded cargo ships. 200 of them were moored in the harbor at Piraeus, waiting to be deployed. Providing manpower for these dreaded warships was one of the civic duties of all Athenians. When fully mobilized, the fleet required 40,000 oarsmen. While the rich could pay to maintain the fleet and send their slaves in their place, the poor had to work the oars themselves. Every trireme was manned by 170 oarsmen. Packed together like sardines for days on end, they must have suffered badly from the heat and confinement below deck. The great 5th century strategist, Themistocles, convinced Athenians to invest heavily in their fleet. In doing so, he helped turn the city-state into a dominant sea power. For a few glorious decades, Athens ruled the eastern Mediterranean and the numerous Greek city-states. Every able-bodied Athenian was expected to do his bit for his country.
Warfare was virtually a yearly occurrence, and these are citizen armies, so that virtually everybody must have fought quite frequently. They were all eligible for military duty from age 18 to 59. They had large land armies, and they had those huge fleets that required tens of thousands of rowers. So I think most Athenians experienced war several times in the course of their lives. It's done seasonally. That is to say, if you're a farmer, you're going to tend your fields first and then go fight your neighbor when you're not trying to get in your crop. But it was a part of daily life, no question.
Small wonder so many Athenians sought distraction in the theater. Under the laughing gaze of Dionysus, god of wine, playwrights ridiculed society's failings in comedies and satires, while in their seats of honor, public officials often found themselves the squirming targets of public mockery. Theater was a democratic institution to which everyone had access. More than 17,000 spectators once laughed, wept, and clapped in these steep stone seats. Political decisions were made on the Pnyx, the public place of assembly, an inconspicuous open space within sight of the Acropolis. This is where the first parliament in history took place. From these steps, Greece's most famous orators addressed the citizens of Athens. Here on the Pnyx is where public votes were held, where democracy was born. At a time when literacy was rare in most countries, Athenian citizens were obliged to learn to read and write. Proof of this came to light during excavations at the Agora, where tens of thousands of inscriptions on stone were uncovered. Public appeals, citizen information and announcements, or simple messages such as the one carved on this gravestone.
In a democracy, such as the Athenian one, virtually the entire government would change every year, except for a handful of officials. And that means you need very, very good record keeping because not all the projects are going to stop in a year and somebody has to keep track of the money. So you have to say how much money you got when you became the grain commissioner, how you spent that money, and how much money you passed on the following year to the next grain commissioner. So essentially, you have to have excellent record keeping because of this constant changing of the officials.
The Greek script has not changed in more than 2,000 years. This stele, or gravestone, was erected in loving memory of a young woman whose name is immortalized here beside that of her husband. No other culture has left behind so much written information. This is how we know of Phryne's existence, though whether some aspects of her life are truth or myth remains unclear.
Beginning next week, join us Tuesday nights in April as we unlock the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Egypt Month begins next Tuesday on History Television.
Introducing a breakthrough in hair color. Natural Instincts with the new Fresh Color formula. The less risk, more reward hair color. It helps kick out the risk of damage to your hair. Forget ammonia, forget roots. Think Natural Instincts with aloe, chamomile, and ginseng. With new Natural Instincts, your hair is even shinier and healthier looking than before you colored it.
You'll never be chicken to color your hair again.
New Natural Instincts from Clairol.
Less risk, more reward.
Less damage, more color wonderful.
Winning the NASCAR championship is about outlasting the other guy. That's why I use new Red Zone Invisible Solid. It's the longest lasting invisible solid from Old Spice. So you smell great all day. And if you don't think the scent lasts longer, Old Spice will buy you a stick of something else. Hey, you can't always shower right after the race. Unless, of course, you win.
New Red Zone Invisible Solid Antiperspirant in 3 long-lasting scents. Stay in the zone.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place that you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but the dreams have remained and they're turned around. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
The new job is connected to the mortgage.
The mortgage is connected to the market.
The market is connected to the summer home.
And the summer home is connected to the estate plan.
The estate plan's connected to the grandson.
Talk to an advisor from Scotia McLeod. We take a more complete look at your life for a more complete financial strategy.
You are watching History Television, an Alliance Atlantis network. This program is brought to you by Scotia McLeod.
The Athens court is now in session. Flanked by her lawyer, Hyperides, Phryne is met by the public prosecutor on the steps of the courthouse.
Edegine blasphemias enkos!
Even her influential admirers have been unable to halt the proceedings. The mood in the city has swung against the famous courtesan. If this jury finds her guilty, she could face banishment, slavery, or even death. But Frine is confident of success.
Ede gwinir blasphemia senkos.
Sistesi aioste, tuton per clinain.
Thesis.
Ton men, logon mul, o Andres di Castai.
To everyone's amazement, Hyperides makes no attempt to deny Phryne's presumption.
Pauso imas loideronymos.
And then, she proves herself to be as beautiful as any goddess. If ever mortal woman was designed to substitute her body for Aphrodite's, that woman was Phryne. An independent judicial system was one of the greatest achievements of Athenian democracy. Citizens were not constrained by any ruler or god, only by the dictates of their own conscience. Perhaps nowhere is this respect for the ordinary citizen more in evidence than in the Propolia, or gateway to the Acropolis and the Parthenon. Like the Parthenon, this ancient building is also being rescued from the damage imposed by earlier, historically inaccurate restorations. Every stone is being removed, cleaned of cement fragments, and restored. What appears to be a temple is not dedicated to any god. Instead, it's designed as a place of leisure for the people of Athens. For the first time in history, a magnificent building was erected, not for gods or kings, but by citizens for citizens of a free city. A symbol of the self-confidence and pride of democratic Athens. Since the court acquitted her, joy has returned to Phryne's life. Praxiteles' new sculpture of Aphrodite is now completed, and will be remembered as the first important female nude in sculpture. As Pausanias the historian reports, the goddess was flattered by the beauty of her human model. And once again, the gods smiled on Athens. The ancient Greeks attained such a high level of civilization that scholars once mistakenly believed they belonged to a separate race. Athens' golden age bequeathed the Western world a transcendent legacy of thought and beauty whose power will never fade. But physical power fades with time. This once mighty metropolis fell into decline, overshadowed by other great cities, such as Alexandria, Carthage, and Rome. But in our minds, no other city occupies the same place as Athens, because it was in Athens that democracy was born.